Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode. First things first, have you seen the new podcast art? It's pretty good, if I don't say so myself. I'm very happy with it, and I'm very excited to have some fresh new podcast art on your phones. We all love an update. We all love something refreshing. So if you can't see the new podcast art, you probably need to update your app or just delete your app and then reinstall it. And then you will see it because it is a vibe. If I don't say so myself, it took me about 4 weeks to decide on which one I wanted. We had a few options, but I hope that you guys like this one. There was another option that I know a lot of you liked. I showed you guys the options in the behind the scenes bubble. You really do get the behind the scenes. And with that option, I ended up having to go with my gut. Even though a lot of you guys were like option 2, but with option 3, we kind of made a change to option 3. So now this was like option 4. But the thing was with option 3 is that it was just, I know that you could see my face front on, but everybody has their fucking face front on. It was just more of like, that option was more of the norm. It was kind of like, it's an expected podcast cover, whereas the option that we went with is definitely more of an unexpected podcast cover. And as one of my members of my team said, it sparks curiosity and you're like, wait, what is this podcast about? You want to get to know a bit more of it because it's like, wait, that is such a sexy podcast cover. So on that note, today's topic kind of blends in very well with it, and it's all about business. So even if you don't have a business, you might want to just listen to this episode purely because I'm going through basically the evolution of my brand and kind of how we got here. Right now I'm on my phone because I'm just opening the archive to get all the questions from you guys. And I am really excited to do this. I love doing these little update episodes, and I personally just vibe with answering questions. I find it so easy, so energizing, and I love being able to answer exactly what you guys want. So that's what we're doing on today's episode. And next week's episode, just so you guys know, is going to be a free meditation. So you guys will be able to keep that one in your back pocket for whenever you need it. Okay, wait, where is this? All right, we found it. I was like, what is happening? Okay, so I'm going to go through and answer a lot of these questions for you guys. And actually today I've been recording, so you'll see this outfit if you're on the Feminine CEO too. I've been recording some of the re-recorded modules for the Feminine CEO. So it has been a full fucking day. Dinner's in the oven because we're leaving to go to Australia this week. I'm obviously pre-recording this episode, and there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes to like get me to a position where I'm like, okay, I can take 3 weeks off from doing the general 10 hours of work a day. I'll probably be going down to like 2 or 3 because of how busy our schedule is when we're there. So I just need to get really prepped. So there's a lot of work going on beforehand. So let's go through these questions. I'm excited. All right. So the first question is, how did you learn your healing techniques? So I would say about 95% of my modalities are all self-made. In fact, the other day I was on a client call and I literally made up a new one on the spot. And before you guys are like, oh my God, that's so dangerous, I'm not necessarily making up a trauma healing thing on the spot. That was actually, we were doing it in terms of like breaking down timelines and stuff. Point is that how I really got into, or how I really actually found out that I had a gift for this is back when I was doing master life coaching, I started channeling modalities. And I didn't really know what channeling even was back then, to be honest. But I just started doing it. And it was wild because clients would have these ridiculous experiences, insane transformations, on things that I've told you guys a million times before, on things that they've been trying to work on for 10 plus years and it couldn't budge, and they still had the trigger there and then it was gone. So, that is how I started to develop my modalities. And from then, year after year after year, I just keep channeling new ones, and they help me. They help my fiance. They help all my clients. And they are very, very, very special to me. So for those of you that will join the certification next year, as I will very likely reopen it, it's going to be very limited, like invitation only, probably 4 or 5 spaces, because I mark everything, I do all the exams, and with my book coming out and everything, there's gonna be a lot going on, and wedding and everything. So if it works out, I'll be doing the certification again next year, and that is where you will learn my modalities. They are very close to my heart. I just have like a lot of protectiveness over them, because I also want them to be done correctly, and you're learning them from the source. And it's really important that you have a lot of your own intuitive guidance with this kind of work. Because otherwise, if you're using your head, it doesn't really work. You got to really be using your intuition with it. So that is how I learnt my techniques. And then obviously over my 5-6 years of doing, this is my 6th year, over these nearly 6 years of doing this work, I've kind of created this almost blueprint for becoming her. Like her is like in my mind now that I've kind of made this whole concept up of her, quote unquote, her is the end result, for want of a better word. Like we all want to be her, and then once you become her, it's this continuous up level of being her. And then it's your next version of her, your next version of her. And so for one of better, like the best way to almost describe it is like you are on a journey of becoming her, or you're on a journey of becoming him. And through all of my programs, you then become her. So over time, I've developed this basically a blueprint of becoming your best version of yourself through my healing, my embodiment, my teaching, my practices, all those kind of things. Okay. Have you ever experienced a flop launch or no one buying? Plus, how did you navigate it? # real talk. We're always here for the real talk. So, I mean, yeah, of course I've experienced flop launches. I've never experienced, to be honest, I don't think anyway, because I can't remember anything, no one buying. But that is because I set myself up for success from the beginning, and I always kind of think of this way. So what I've noticed happens is for a lot of people, especially in the kind of coaching space and service-based space, is they will go from nothing to group program or nothing to online course. And this isn't to say you can't do that, because obviously it could work. I don't fucking know, right? It could work. But I've never seen that go successfully. What I've seen go successfully and what worked very well for me, and then also for my clients, is you want to become an expert before you do that. You want to have testimonials and social proof and fucking, like, frankly, the confidence in what it is that you're doing. That comes from doing one-on-one work. You build yourself to a point where you have the energetic capacity and, frankly, the confidence and the ability to run a whole group something, or run a course through something. I don't think that you can fully understand what a course needs or what somebody in a course needs until you've done so many clients where you literally know what any fucking person needs. Even as I'm going through this re-recording of The Feminine CEO, there are so many new things that I'm dropping in, or new ways that I'm saying things, because obviously in the last 3 years or 2.5 years since when a lot of it was, recorded in the portal, I have helped a lot of women through a lot of business things in those last few years. So I can obviously bring that in. And if you have never done one-on-one coaching in any kind of capacity, and all of a sudden you're wanting to do, or one-on-one services, and all of a sudden you're wanting to create an online course, it's like, how do you even really know what people need? And then more importantly, how to explain it to people? How to dumb it down, how to even get it to a point where they can understand it and even know the questions then to ask. That's also something that you just don't know if you haven't worked with people closely enough for a period of time before actually creating an online course or whatever. So I've had launches that didn't go as well as I wanted them to go 100%. When that happens, the way that I will navigate it is always reflecting on what was my role in that, right? Did I just not have the energetic capacity, and so the universe was actually doing me a favor? And here was I thinking, I wanted this many people in the course, but really I could only actually take this many people. Was it that I didn't fully believe in the course? Was it that, and that's never happened, I'm not giving you suggestions. Was it because I would never do that? I would never, and I actually need to do a whole podcast on this, but I actually ditched a whole launch. I was going to launch something kind of right now, to be honest, when you're listening to this, and I pulled the trigger because I just was like, I could not get behind it. I could not fully fucking say yes to it in the way that I wanted to, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to sell it well enough, and I knew it was then going to be a flop, so I got rid of it. But I'll talk about that in another episode, actually. So, if I haven't gotten fully behind something, that's also a reflection point of, okay, well, what needs to happen in order for me to get fully behind this program next time I do it? Or, was it that I actually didn't talk about it enough? Did I not sell it well enough? Did I not Did I not encourage people to ask me questions enough? So I will reflect on what my part is to play. Of course, there's always going to be, the economy or this or that or the other, but that is always going to be an excuse. And the reality is that no matter what's happening with the economy, if people feel like they need something, they're going to buy it. If the economy's in a flop, but you are addicted to cigarettes, you're probably going to go still smoke the cigarettes, right? If the economy's in a flop, but you need to wipe your bum, you're probably going to still buy toilet paper. So it's not about, is the economy in a flop? It's about actually have you sold it in a way and marketed it in a way where people have realized that they need the product? Now, granted, they may not need the product, but some people will say they do need the product. Other people say they won't need the product. It's all about how you marketed it. And just in case anyone's wondering, this doesn't mean that you become like a manipulative marketing thing. Absolutely not. Yuck. I don't do any of that. But it's about, if you don't even know why somebody needs this program, you're not going to be able to even help them to self-identify whether it is that they need the program or not. Friends, I'm quickly interrupting the episode for some vital information. So if you are a female business owner and you don't want to burn yourself out, you don't want to have to hustle to achieve success, and you want to be able to feel like you can truly embody feminine leadership, then you need to join the Feminine CEO. This program encompasses everything that you could imagine and more from the last 5 years of my business. And I personally think that is pretty special. Like, what business courses seriously have that much information for all different kind of walks and transitions and phases of your business? Not many, right? It is suitable for everyone, and it will take your business from just being okay to being a well-oiled machine. The best bit is that I am currently updating the videos, which will mean that by about September, if not earlier, of 2023 this year, you will have a whole new library of chic, beautiful, and of course, very entertaining modules for you to step your business up to a whole new level so that you really have that masculine structure with the beautiful feminine flow, because I am a genius and gun at it. And without that masculine structure, you cannot have the feminine flow. And as you guys know, when I'm saying masculine structure in your business, I'm not saying all these hectic strategies and email funnels or anything like that. You'll see inside exactly what I mean, and it feels so fucking supportive. Additionally, Jelly's joining. See, I said entertaining. Additionally, you also get a one-on-one with me that you'll be able to use in the 3 months post your purchase. And you will also be getting a Loom video from me, which is like a screen video recording, where I will give your social media and your website a bit of an audit so that that can also be elevated too. The most important piece that you guys have heard me talk about a million times over and over is the healing component, so that you can actually show up in your business and have the visibility and the success and the growth that you desire. And the beautiful thing about the Feminine CEO is that with that one-on-one, and also with the modules that are in the Feminine CEO, that healing component is there for you, which is often, if not always, the missing piece of so many other business courses, masterminds, programs that are out there. There is a payment plan available as well, and you can get stuck into it and start implementing everything right now. So the details are below. You can click that. You can click the button. You can join now. I will see you soon, and you can start implementing everything in your business starting in the next 10 minutes and seeing the success happen immediately. Tips for working from the feminine and managing anxiety around work. All right, so this is a two-part. So first, the only way that you are going to be able to work in your feminine is if you have masculine structure. The feminine cannot thrive. The feminine cannot even be in existence in your business or in your career if there isn't masculine structure. This is kind of what I was saying when I was selling, funnily enough, Her, right? Her is a program of being in feminine leadership, of embodying feminine leadership in every aspect of your life, in your relationship, in your health, in your career, in growing your wealth and manifestations in every area. The thing is, everything that I teach, everything that I give you in Her is actually based in masculine principles, but the expression is feminine. So Her is actually a lot of masculine, because if you don't have those masculine things, you then can't actually be Her. The way in which the expression happens dictates whether it feels masculine in your body and feels constrictive masculine, or whether it feels supportive in your body so that you can be in your feminine. So people will often say, in order to be in your feminine, you need to have more feminine. Not always true. Sometimes the case, yes, but sometimes no. Sometimes it's a lot more complex than that. Sometimes you got to heal your feminine. Sometimes you got to heal your relationship with the masculine. Sometimes you need more masculine. It's very dependent on you. So whenever I'm teaching business stuff, I'm like, yes, do your business from a place of feminine. Do business in the feminine. That's literally what the Feminine CEO is about. But the feminine CEO is actually a lot of masculine structure so that you can be in your feminine, because you cannot fully run a business from your feminine. But the important parts of your business where you need the feminine, you need masculine structure in your business. I mean, it's kind of a whole thing, but in terms of like tips for working from the feminine, I would actually be more so asking yourself, where do you feel stressed right now? Implement masculine structure so that you can be more in your feminine. And then managing anxiety around work, you want to figure out what the root of the anxiety is. Anxiety is a symptom. What is the root of the anxiety? What are you afraid of with work? What are you truly stressed about? Is it really work, or is it just showing up in work? Is it actually to do with your personal life? Many different things. Okay. How do you use manifesting / things other than doing in your business? Other than doing in your business. Okay, so how I use manifesting in my business is I will manifest ideal clients. I manifest success in launches and in programs. I manifest the growth. I manifest, I work on manifesting my ideal team. I manifest in terms of like tuning into my intuition of who feels right to bring on to a certain project. God, I manifest so many different things, but I mean, I'm always manifesting. The manifestation component is always, and I talked about this kind of in last week's episode a lot, in this whole stretch period that I'm in. You being in manifestation, you want to feel like it's constant. You don't want to feel like it's a job, because then you feel like you're doing manifestation. For me, manifestation is something that I'm always embodying. It's the way in which I literally live my life. I'm in a frequency of my future self. I act for my future self. I think for my future self. I try and make decisions based on my future self in my business and in my personal life. And all of those things are me manifesting. Okay. Okay. Did you have a vision of how big your business would be before you started, or did that come? Oh no, I had a big vision. The vision is evolving, obviously. The vision has changed. I don't think, at least, I ever envisioned myself writing a book, for example, but that just came from the evolution of my business in terms of how important the messaging was. And I knew I had to write a book to get this out there and to put it all in one place. So the book, I don't actually think, if I remember correctly, was ever something that I, wanted from day dot. And when I say day dot, I'm saying like, I remember I just always had these visions of being in my apartment in Sydney. And I had this like vision board that would sit on my desk, and I would look at it every day. And I was so deep in manifesting, because my goal at that time was to get to New York. And like, that was like the dream. And I got there, and I did a post when I then left New York and moved to Atlanta, if there's a dream beyond the dream. And I get emotional even like thinking about it, because I talked about this kind of last week, but you will hit period. This is why I'm on my period. You will hit some really big manifestations that you want. And my God, will you be so proud of yourself? And there's going to be then a whole new level that you never could have imagined 5 years ago when you hit this new level. It's just this beautiful thing of knowing that what you think is going to happen in your life, if you align yourself, if you take the steps, if you're in, if you are being your best self, you're free of your shit, etc. If you're doing the right things, if you are in the right energy, taking the right action, and really embodying all of those laws of the universe, your dream is vastly bigger than you can even imagine. Like, what is going to happen in your life is beyond what you can see. And I just think that is such a beautiful thing. So yes, I had very big visions before my business really started, and they've continued to evolve, and they have stuck. They ain't going anywhere. Okay, the next question is, did you ever have to go into debt, invest first before making bank? So I didn't go into debt. I worked another job at the same time, and I hustled in the beginning. And when I say hustled, it was like I had to hustle. after I quit that job to go full time in my business. Now, I hustled thinking that was going to make me money. Funnily enough, it didn't do shit, right? Because I was just like killing myself and I was so scattered all the time and whatever. It was not productive. And it wasn't until I got really clear and actually stopped hustling that my business started making money. But the kind of like the debt that I went into wasn't money debt, but it was relationship debt. It was health debt. It was another kind of debt. It was mental health debt. It was adrenal debt, right? So it was me not going out. It was me not seeing friends. It was me, I moved to a new city. I moved to Sydney. And I didn't make time for my old friends that I grew up with. And I didn't make time I really did not have the time, nor did I make the time to invest in new friendships. I was burning the candle at both ends because I had to make money, right? Like I've shared this before, but like I wouldn't eat breakfast because it would then be cheaper to not eat breakfast and just eat lunch. Because I, was recovering from a ski accident. I was trying to chip in and pay for my physio appointments and all these different things. And I was paying for utilities and whatnot and trying to not lose all my money that I had in my account and get my business going. So I worked and saved as I worked for trying to grow my business. And then when I started making money, I then shortly after, so I had about $10,000 in my account, Aussie dollars, from a few months of money actually coming in and me working very hard and killing myself. And when I tell you I was I was at my limit with clients, I was at my limit with clients. Like it was a joke. But I was making it work. I was doing my thing. I kept going. The vision was fucking big. It still is. And I then gave that full $10,000 to a coach at the beginning of 2019. And it was, in my mind, the dumbest thing I could have done because a month later I was going to New York with a friend. And I remember thinking to myself and saying to her, I want to have plenty of money for this trip. New York is expensive. I do not want to say we can't have the champagne or like spray the fucking bottle of it because I don't have the money. And so I paid the money for the coach a month prior. I made that money back, if I remember correctly, in a week. And I launched my first group program. I made the money back in a week, and then I had my first 10K month, and then it was 20K, 30K, jumped very quickly, and I made $600,000 that year. And I share this because this is why I also am like, my God, is it important to light a fire under your ass and get uncomfortable? It doesn't mean that you should be burning yourself out because that wasn't working, right? I tried that for a short period of time and I didn't last very long because the woman's nervous system is not as strong as a man's. And I was already so depleted because of my ski accident. I was struggling with phantom pain. I couldn't sleep. I was learning to walk. I was in this constant pain all the time. And you load up trying to hustle. I literally wasn't going to survive. And I didn't survive for very long. So that quickly changed. And in that year, 2019, when I made 600,000 Aussie dollars, I wasn't hustling. I was working very hard, but there is a difference between putting hours in and hustling. I was traveling. I was happy. I was in Europe. I was making new friends. I was seeing friends. I was going to my cousin's wedding. I was reading by the beach for an hour a day. I was doing all these beautiful things and I was, fuck yes, putting in the hours, but the execution wasn't killing me. So the debt wasn't money, but I was struggling to make ends meet, let's just say. And I was putting myself in debt in terms of my health, 100%. Okay. Who did you go to first to help set up your business, e.g. a lawyer, financial advisor, not sure where to start? So this is a really good question. And this probably is like the worst advice to ever give according to a business person, but I didn't go to anybody. I just started. The one thing that I noticed that people do is that they try and start like super legit and it actually holds them back because they overthink everything. Everything becomes really stressful, very complicated, and they're so worried about doing the wrong thing that they end up just not starting. So the first person that I went to start my business is my fucking self. I just started. I started with a food blog, and I simply just started. I then obviously hired a tax person, like an accountant and whatnot. But it isn't years later until I then hired a lawyer and hired more people that could help me with their area of expertise. But don't hold yourself back because you're trying to go full legit from the get-go, because it isn't going to work. It's going to become a limiting thing because you are going to be so worried about doing the wrong thing that you do nothing at all. Now, maybe that doesn't feel right for you. It also depends what kind of business you're trying to start, obviously, but just fucking start. Start with the things that you know how to do. Start putting yourself out there. Start making content. Make a fucking website. The first few things that I did for my business was I made my website from scratch. I did the whole thing, and I made an Instagram account, and I just started. I didn't get my first website like design and put money behind it until a few years later. So that's really important. And once things start to get rolling, then you can bring in the tax person and whatnot. Now, obviously, if you're starting a legit business and you're actually going to start making money, which might not happen for 6 months, you then need to get a tax person to then set up your business. That's obviously important. But if you are just trying to start your business, you're not making any money yet, right? So just start and actually show up for yourself. Then a week later, you can then hire a tax person. Okay, beautiful. Okay, how did you establish / embody authority in the space that you work in? Okay, establishing, you can embody authority, but you haven't established authority. You establish authority from being an expert in your field. And I think that I established authority because I started in this field before other people were. Back in the day when I started picking up momentum, my business succeeded because I was talking about periods in a way that nobody else was talking about it. I was saying blood, I was saying vagina, I was saying sex, I was saying ovaries, I was saying cervical fluid, I was saying all of these things. And at that time, I remember on Instagram, the people that you would see talking about hormones, it would be like, I'm a hormone specialist, or I am like a hormone, no one wanted to say period. And I called myself a period coach, is what I called myself. I talked about periods and blood and vaginas, and I wasn't afraid to say it. And I started talking about these things before this topic blew up. Now everyone's talking about hormones and cycle syncing, and everyone's a quote unquote expert. Not everybody's an expert, right? And the way in which that you are going to become an expert is if you become very fucking good at your job. That is the only way that you're going to become an expert. You need to become an expert, not just from the paid things, but from your free stuff. Because if somebody can't feel like you know what you're talking about from your Instagram content, why are they going to pay you to then know what you're talking about, right? And if somebody wants you on your podcast, but they haven't paid you, how do they know that you're an expert? So the expert, you feeling like an expert and you being an expert, is going to come from the social proof, so from the testimonials that people give you, from you clearly showing your knowledge and sharing your knowledge in a free way with your audience. And then obviously, yes, the embodiment piece, showing up as a professional. If you are lacking consistency, if you don't show up professional, if you don't have a website, if you don't, answer DMs or whatever, then these things could definitely hold you back in people even seeing that you are possibly an expert. Before we cut forward to the next question, there are 2 quick things I want to remind you about. Number 1 is, if you love my podcast, if you've been listening to it a lot, if you love my content and gotten a lot out of it, if you have not left a written review, please can you do so? Not only can you send a screenshot to media@monicagateshealth.com and then get a free meditation that's all about bringing your energy back to you, so helping with those energy leaks and whatnot, which is amazing after a big weekend, for example. Not only do you get that, it's also a really great value exchange for all of the work, the effort, the time that I put in on my side and that my team puts in on their side. So we really appreciate you leaving a written review. The second thing that I want to remind you guys about is the Men and Money bundle is opening soon. And it's kind of a third thing. And we have a June manifestation challenge happening on emails. So every week for the month of June, I'm giving you guys a packed email that I have written. I write all the emails of really epic things that you can do to start to embody manifestation in your life. And I literally talked about this today with one of the questions, right? Of bringing manifestation into just an experience that you do all the time. If you are not already signed up for this, please make sure that you are. Even if you're on my email list, you will not get them. You need to sign up directly to this email list. I don't want to spam anybody that doesn't want the emails. you need to sign up to this email list to get the June manifestation emails. So please make sure that you sign up via the link below to get the June manifestation emails. It's one email a week, packed full of basically things to implement into your life that are going to up level your frequency, improve your manifestation abilities. And you're going to be implementing kind of that email each week. You'll obviously kind of add it in as you go, right? So by the end of those 4 weeks, you have just added a whole new bunch of things into your life that are upgrading your frequency and improving your ability to manifest. What a fucking vibe. All right, the next question. How did you get better at automation and systemizing everything during your evolution? Also, examples of what you use over time for processes or automations, e.g. the system type. I know, Tamara, you wanted me to also pop this in the Feminine CEO, so I will do in more details. So firstly is I feel like people, this kind of comes back to, you overthinking in the very beginning of running your business. You want to just fucking nail what it is that you're doing in the beginning of running your business. You can focus. Jelly, can you please stop licking me? Like, it's so annoying. I need water. 6 months later, you can focus on automations and thinking about all those kind of things. But it's really important in the beginning that you actually just start showing up, creating consistency, and getting clients. That is the most important thing in the beginning. Do not overcomplicate running your business. I see this so often in clients. One of the things that holds them back from just showing up and doing the fucking thing is they're overcomplicating and overthinking everything. Just do a fucking Instagram story. Post on Instagram. Like, don't hold yourself back because you think that it needs to be perfect or set up like 50 fucking automations. I have literally only I have only made proper workflows like in my email system where when someone buys this and they get this email, etc., based on what it is that they bought, sending them to these podcast episodes, etc. I have only just started doing that as of last year. So 2022, 5 years into business. And heck, maybe I quote unquote should have done it sooner. But the bottom line is that it wasn't a priority. It wasn't a priority. And I guess it wasn't a good use of my energy back then. And it didn't mean that I didn't have emails going out to people when they bought things. They were still going on a kind of workflow in the email system, but it wasn't going on one as particular as now. Like now when someone gets, let's say for example, you download like a freebie to do with periods, you're going to go through a workflow that is going to, direct you to podcasts about periods, to other offers about periods, to blog posts about periods, because you're obviously interested in fixing your period, for example, and if you download something about, emasculating men, that's going to send you to different places. So that really only happened years into my business. And I don't want you to hold yourself back in the beginning of your business because you're obsessing about doing the perfect email flows, if that makes sense. And the way in which that I got better about automating everything and systemizing stuff is by not trying to do it myself. Because, I've tried to automate and systemize things myself and I fucking suck at it. I now know how to do it because I have learned and I have people on my team that know how to do it and help me. And actually right now, if you are thinking about joining the Feminine CEO, there are 7 spaces for a bonus for a limited time only. The dates of this bonus offering are down below on the website page for the Feminine CEO. You can get this bonus and only 7 spaces. They may already be gone. They'll be updated on the website as we go. And you will get a session with myself and one of my members from my team, Meg, who helps with all of the automations and kind of making that kind of masculine structure essentially behind each program launch. And, for some of you, this could be way over your head because you're fresh in business. But one, what a fucking expansion of a 30 minutes. And then number 2, we're going to obviously make it work for where you are in your business in a way that's going to help you to get to the next level. But in terms of getting better at automating things is that you want to just know like what things the question to ask yourself is firstly is what things could you automate, right? Like, could you automate sending out a certain email? Could you automate, the email that goes out a week later once someone's bought a certain offering and they need to, join this certain call? There are some things that I could automate that I don't because I don't want to. There are some things that I did want to automate and I do automate. So that's the first question to really ask yourself. It's going to kind of help you get set up from the get-go. And I'm going to record, it won't be in there necessarily right now because it's going to take me a little bit. It'll be a big module, but I'm going to record an update on on getting better at like automating things and everything for the feminine CEO. So you'll have that soon, Tamara. Okay, the next question, which I love this question because the answer is I never did. At what point did you start to get a huge influx of followers? I never did. And I love this answer because whilst I would love to be able to tell you, and whilst I would love for myself to be like, oh my God, all of a sudden I grew 100K overnight. And frankly, I could probably make a great reel about it and then go viral off that reel. It's I never did. I never made a million followers overnight. I never had a huge influx of followers. You know, of course, when I'm on somebody's podcast that's big, or like those kind of things, or when someone shares something in mine that has a big following, I will get an influx. I might get 100 or 200 or 300 or 500 people that follow me in a short period of time. Of course, those things happen. And, I'm sure that with my book coming out, I will then get a huge influx. And I hope that's obviously the case, that more people find me, know my work, etc. But there was no point where I all of a sudden got a huge influx of followers. My business is not an overnight success. My business is not something that went from 0 to 1 million. Yes, I had rapid growth from my first year where I made money. And then, well, it wasn't even my first year. It was like my fucking 5th year of business where I made a bit of money. And yes, and then I had a big influx from that year to the next year. But this is not an overnight success. This is constant work and sustainability and commitment to myself, commitment to my goals, commitment to you guys, and commitment to my business. Now, granted, when my book comes out, there definitely could be some quote unquote overnight success from where I was pre-book to where I am post-book. And I am definitely manifesting and have manifested that has happened. But at this point in time, that is not the case. And I think that it has allowed me to build a really strong foundation. I think it's also allowed me to get to the point where I've built a very strong team and back end of my business so that when there is an influx, we can take it. What a lot of people have happen is they get a huge influx of followers and they can't handle it, number one, or they can't monetize it. And if you can't handle it or you can't monetize it, it can often actually do more detriment than goodness to your business. I know some people, I've had some clients where they have a really big following and they make no fucking money. And then as soon as they try and start making money, the amount of followers that they have versus the amount of like clients and engagement they have is completely off because their audience was never set up to actually buy from them. It doesn't mean that if you have a big audience, you can't make your audience buy. That's not what it means. But it just means that never equate somebody's amount of followers to the amount of money that they make. Because I know plenty of people that have a lot of followers and don't make a lot of money. It doesn't mean that's a bad thing, but also doesn't mean it's a good thing. I'm neutral about it. The point is that your followers don't mean anything. It's about the quality of your followers. For the amount of money and for the amount of success and for the amount of sustainability and for the amount of, frankly, like, what's the word? Not safety, but like, this is a very, very legit, sustainable, like, unrisky business that I've built, right? That's what my team members said, like, the business automating, the business is not a risky business. It's been like this. It's been, over 7 figures for at least 3 years. It's been over 7 figures for 3 years. So, right? Yeah, 3 years. So it's not a risky business, but it didn't happen overnight. And the sustainability, I personally think, has allowed me to get to a place where I've built the back end to now take an influx. If I all of a sudden got an influx 2 years ago, 3 years ago, possibly even 1 year ago, I actually wouldn't have been able to handle this. I've asked myself this all the time. What if all of a sudden I had 300 new people that wanted to buy to join this program? So let's say, for example, I got 1,000 new followers and 300 of them wanted to join this program. What would happen? I'd crumble. So of course I'm going to fucking repel it. But now I'm at a point where I can have 300 people join a program and I can fully receive it and handle it because I have the team, I have the systems, I have the back end to do so. Okay. How do you handle people who get triggered by your authenticity in person? I never have to handle them because I don't actually think it's a problem. People love my authenticity, and when they meet me in person, most of the time when someone meets me in person, they're like, oh my gosh, you're the exact same as you are online. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't be able to fucking maintain a fake thing. I really wouldn't. I can't even hold a fucking fake conversation with someone for 5 minutes. I'm like, I'm out. I gotta go. So I handle people that get triggered online, I guess. And how I handle them is I mean, I don't really handle them is the way that I handle them because it's not my responsibility to deal with somebody else's projection. The only person that can handle a trigger is yourself, right? They're fully responsible for their own projection and for their own triggers. So if someone gets triggered by my stuff online or my work online or what I've said, we actually had this girl the other day who I did an Instagram post about like 8 things to do for your hormones. And one of them was go outside in the sun and don't put SPF on. And if you want to read the blog post on it, we'll link it below because it explains why. And I'm not saying get fucking fried like a lobster. It literally says this in the whole blog post. I don't mean get burnt. I don't mean get fried by a lobster, but I mean that you need to not put SPF on. One, the chemicals, and those chemicals are actually linked to skin cancer. Two, the vitamin D is metabolized differently from the sun than when you eat it. And number three, you want to be focusing on internal sunscreen, not just external sunscreen. Like if you put external sunscreen on and you're eating a shit diet, that's not going to protect you from fucking skin cancer or any kind of cancer. So anyway, point is, I wrote this whole blog post, and she made a comment or whatnot, and it was like a respectful comment. It wasn't like really abrasive or anything. And so Olivia sent her the link and everything, and then of course she had some fucking words to say. She didn't obviously read the blog post, or if she did, she couldn't have, because what she'd said basically explained that she hadn't read the blog post, because the blog post like linked a bunch of studies and a bunch of doctors that had like said these things and whatnot, whatever. Anyway, and so Olivia sends me a screenshot and is like, how do you want me to handle this? Because I kind of want to just tell her to fuck off and like read the actual blog post and that, like, whatever. And and I was like, either don't respond or just be like, okay. And some people might be like, that's rude. It's not rude. You do not need to spend your energy trying to prove something to someone. This is key, trying to prove something to someone that doesn't want to hear your side of the argument. The point is that how I handle people like that is I don't handle them because it's not my responsibility. And when somebody is like coming at you, it doesn't matter what you say to them. They don't want to hear your side. They are not going to agree with it. They only are going to agree with themselves. And I'm sure you've heard this about bullies. It's like, don't feed a bully, right? And it's not to say that she was bullying me online, because she wasn't, but it's like these kind of people, they want to be fed. They're bored. Like if somebody, like I don't even have time to fucking comment on anybody's Instagram posts. So I would not have time to send them an essay through a DM. When somebody has time to send you an essay through a DM, it's because they have way too much time in their life and they're bored. Somebody could say the meanest thing about men, for example. Or someone could go on a rampage about how the pill is the best thing that's ever happened to women or whatnot. Or someone could go on a rampage. I mean, I've seen way too many articles about, you don't need to have your period to be healthy, which is completely bullshit. Or like, women don't need to have their cycle or whatever it is. And I am too busy and too fulfilled in my life to write a essay to why this person is wrong, because also they aren't going to hear it. Like they are in their box of they're an expert for whatever reasons, that's fine. And I'm a big believer in, and not a big believer. The reality is that we're never all going to see eye to eye. So don't try and make somebody see eye to eye to you. If somebody wants to actually hear your side of things, they're not going to send you an essay. They're going to ask if you have a podcast episode, or in this situation for me, they're going to ask if you got a podcast episode. They're going to read the blog post. They're going to ask a question. And the question is going to be asked in a way where they are literally showing their curiosity. When somebody sends an essay, they're not fucking curious. They're bored. Simple as that. Okay. The next question, how do you stay motivated? I love my job. I love what I do. And I'm motivated by my dreams. Simple as that. Simple as that. Okay, what do you think healthy profit margins are as the business grows? This is completely dependent on the business. Completely dependent. I have my profit margins. They're pretty high. They're 60 to 70% on average if our expenses aren't really high. For the book, for example, the profit margins, like, let's say the few months before the book, I'm not making money off the book yet, right? So if I was to do the profit margins for those months, let's just say September, October, before the book comes out in November, which by the way, it may actually now come out in March. I know in a previous episode, I was like, oh, now it's coming out in November. We had another meeting today and she's like, I think it should come out in March. That's a whole other conversation. I feel like there needs to be literally a YouTube series on the evolution of the book. You guys might actually like that. Point is that let's say, for example, we're looking at September and October before the book. The profit margin could be 0%, frankly. And I don't know where this is going to happen. I hope this doesn't happen because obviously I want my revenue to grow. And so even though the expenses increase, the revenue has rapidly increased by the time we get to September and October. But let's say just for example that it hasn't. The revenue stayed the same. My expenses have dramatically increased because we're hiring all these people, right? And some of these people cost $15,000 a month. So, so let's say for example that there's no profit in the months. The profit margin is 0. It doesn't mean that I haven't had a successful month. It doesn't mean anything is wrong. There's going to be seasons in your business where depending on what's happening, the profit margins are going to change. What's important is that you look at the profit margin in a way of, does this make sense? Is this legitimate? Is this correct? If I looked at profit margins for 2 months prior to my book going out and it was 0%, there could be a minor freak out, but there are also, depending what we're spending money on and whatnot, and depending how much revenues come in and whatnot, it also could be, no, this makes complete sense. I'm not stressed about it. So let's say, for example, $200,000 worth of revenue has come in each of those months. So $200,000 in October, $200,000 in September. And let's say, for example, the revenue is also $200,000. Sorry, the expenses are also $200,000. $200,000 for expenses is a lot of expenses in a month. I would kind of be like, wait, something's up. Like, this cannot be correct. I would never let it get to that point. The expenses being maybe $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a month, I would be like, okay, this is more legitimate based on what my current expenses are, the current amount of revenue that I make, and then it can, adding on what's possibly going to be coming in terms of extra expenses. I would hope that my revenue also increases. If my revenue stays the exact same, but my expenses increase a lot, I'm going to try and not let that happen, right? I'm really going to try and not let that happen. So that shouldn't really be the case because I'm not going to let that happen. That isn't, like, in my reality, that isn't going to be the case. But we know what the expenses are going to look like months ahead, so I can make sure that doesn't happen, if that makes sense, number one. And then number two, that would be an example where the profit margin would be different this month. The profit margin would be different, in December of last year compared to those months. So a healthy profit margin, there is no such thing. It depends on your business, what's happening in your business, what the season is, what your expenses are, what changes are happening, what investments have been made. Product-based businesses have very different very different profit margins to service-based businesses. For service-based businesses, a profit margin around 60%, could be very normal. But for a product-based business, a profit margin of around 20% can sometimes be more normal depending on what's going on. So that is, a healthy profit margin is something that you and your finance people, your team, etc., needs to obviously provide. For me personally, I want a profit margin of around 60%. That's often what I deem as important for me. Okay, the next question. So, what time are we on? Okay. So, how did you get your first paying clients and how did you design your office? I mean, I got my first paying clients by showing up on Instagram, selling, making a website, all those kind of things that I've already talked about. And then how I designed my office, this is actually something that I literally re-recorded today. So that is a Feminine CEO question. In the Feminine CEO, I walk you through exactly how I design, channel all the thought processes that go into my offers. And I actually use some of my offers as an example for you guys. And I also go through the pricing of them. I mean, the Feminine CEO, that is something for that. And it gives you intense detail for that question. All right, what do you need to let go of to get to the next level? I feel like last week's episode does a brilliant job of a very wholesome answer for this. But the bottom line is the thing that you need to let go of to get to the next level is a sense of safety. Bottom line is that if you want to have a successful business, it's not always going to feel easy. It's not always going to feel safe. And there's going to be moments, like I spoke about intensely last week, of intense stretching. If you cannot learn to enjoy those stretching phases, to enjoy discomfort, to enjoy feeling uncomfortable and out of your comfort zone, you're going to have a very hard time up leveling. Because like I right now am in a intense moment of uncomfortability. I spoke about it last week, so I won't go fully into it, but there is so much happening with the book. There is so many new things that I'm thinking about that I've never thought about before. It's not overwhelming. It's just like a lot. And it's this phase of stretching, and it's a phase of getting outside of my comfort zone. But I have to do that. Otherwise, I'm going to stay exactly where I've been for right now. And I don't want that. I want to keep growing and evolving. So in order for you to get to the next level, you need to start to love that feeling of a fire being up your ass and realize that when there is a fire up your ass, when you are challenged, when you are outside your comfort zone, when you do something new and scary, it leads to good things because you've got yourself, and these big uncomfortable things are going to launch you into new, different action steps that are going to result in quantum leaps and up leveling in your business. So, ladies, I hope that was really helpful. It's actually like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14. There's 16 more questions, and I'm not going to answer them because I'm going to answer them in another episode. Otherwise, this is going to be the longest episode ever, and you guys won't get through it. So you have another episode to look forward to where we will talk about more business Q&A things. I really do hope this was helpful for you because I've given you guys lots of detail in today's episode. Do not forget, like I've shared, that, well, one, we're in Australia, so make sure that you are watching my Instagram stories. The event has just happened and it was a fucking hit, if I don't say so myself. But what's most important for you guys, especially for you business women listening to this episode, is that there is a beautiful update with the Feminine CEO. So make sure you check out my Instagram because I recently posted a reel about why I've updated the modules. And I've updated the whole sales page. You guys can ask me any questions. It's currently open with this bonus offering that ends. So make sure that you look at the website page for all the details of the timing for the offering. Scroll through. Make sure that it is the right fit for you, all those good things, so that you do not miss out on this incredible offering. And the last thing that I'm going to leave you guys with as our feminine selves that are running businesses is make sure that you are doing your business because you fucking love it. Because it is something that you want to do, because you are so passionate about it. If you are trying to run a business for the sake of having your own business, it is going to fail. I'm sorry, but I'm telling you, it's going to fail. If it's not this year, it's next. You need to run your business because you fucking want to. And that may evolve and that may change. So you don't need to be asking yourself, well, I want this business in 10 years time, but do you want it for the next 2 years? Does this make you fucking happy? Does this light you up? If it does not light you up, then you are not going to have the consistency, the discipline, the fire that it takes to stay self-motivated and to show up when times get hard. I did a really great episode with like a little confidence boost for your business a few weeks ago. So you guys can scroll back and make sure that you listen to that or that you watch that. Please make sure that you do. Also, what I want to share with you guys is I am working on posting more on YouTube, more kind of days in the life, nuggets, behind the scenes things, etc., so that you can see more kind of long form content, watch it on a chill Saturday evening or on a Thursday night rather than these stressful fucking TV shows. So make sure that you check that out because that's exciting and something new and something that I'm developing, and it's a new, form of consistent action that I have to take. And I'm always being stretched in my business. If you did not listen to last week's, it wasn't a business-based episode. It was actually about manifestation and being stretched and that discomfort. So you all definitely should listen to it because it was so good that I'm literally going to take the video and put it also in the Feminine CEO to make sure that everybody watches it and nobody misses that podcast episode because it was so dang fucking good. And do not forget, there is a new freebie that is on the website for business journal prompts. So that question about manifesting for your business, that is new and a freebie for you guys. You can download it via the link below. I will see you all in the next episode. Please make sure that you have subscribed to the episode. And if you haven't left a written review, then make sure that you do as well.